Good morning and welcome back. This is episode 2 of Midway Airlines using OnAir Company for Flight Simulator. In the last episode we had completed our level 1 mission, which moved us to level 2, gave us 3 skill points. I went ahead and put 1 point in each for bank loans, FBO agreement, and passenger license. And our next flights here, our next mission, let me get to it here, is a series of flights starting at Pewaukee, which is where we're at now, Pewaukee, going to Rochelle. Got one in Rochelle going to Kankakee, Kankakee to Skydive Chicago, Skydive to Gary. Actually, I missed one there. Skydive to Morris, and then Morris to Gary. So we're at Pewaukee, so we're going to start this flight, which is Pewaukee to Rochelle. I went ahead and created a quick flight plan here. We're just going to go direct to DuPage, VOR, and then we'll leave DuPage heading 268 roughly, which should take us right to the airport. So we're all set for that. We just need to load this up in OnAir first. So my company, aircraft, and then if we click the little plane icon here, this will allow you to set up the flight. So here's our flight. First thing we need to do is make sure we grab the passengers. It's 3 passengers going to Rochelle. We're going to need some fuel here, but we don't have a lot of available weight here, so that's fine. That gives us 169 miles. It doesn't leave much room, but that's all right. So once you've loaded the passengers and cargo, if there is any, and set your fuel, you can also use this select FBO if there's more than one FBO at the airport. Try and get the best price you can for fuel. This is all we got right now. Go ahead and validate fuel and payload. That will load the fuel and the cargo or passengers onto the plane. I'm already selected. I'm the only pilot here, so. And then just need to put in your destination, which is Rochelle. It automatically puts in an alternate for you. Once the fuel and payload are loaded and you've put in the destination, go ahead and click Fly Now. And it will load up here. You can see everything's checked in green, which means it's all set to go. You can see the little map here showing your plane, your destination. Go ahead and click Start Tracking. You do this anytime before you start the engines. I'm going to do it now. This automatically loads the fuel and the payload onto the aircraft and flight simulator. Go over to Flight Simulator now. I'm already at Pewaukee, ready to start up. So we'll go ahead and do that. The battery on, and turn the avionics on. Fuel pump. And turn on the pitot heat. And start the engines. Or engine.
Your flight will be monitored until you land and shut down the engines.
Okay, we'll wait for this to load. So, instead of following the GPS, I think what I'm going to do is actually do it sort of the old-fashioned way, and that is to just tune in the DuPage VOR and which is 108.4. So, okay, 108.4. Alright, so that's active. Shows due page here. We'll get the ATIS now at Palwaki. Get the frequency for that. ATIS is 124.2. We'll tune that in on our comm radio. 124.2. And we got nothing. Well, that's not too surprising. Let's check out the weather here. It's showing 60 at 8 knots. So, we'll actually take off runway 16. Make more sense, I guess. So, zoom this in a little bit the other way. So we are here, so we want to go back and to the right. Go ahead and turn on the nav and strobe lights. Drive right through him. Alright, so just follow this out and to the right. So we're going to be taking off runway 16. We know from our chart that we need to go heading of approximately 240. So I will go ahead and get that into, set the heading bug for that. Bumping the taxiway there. So 240, 270. That's close enough. Then we're also going. Alright, so with the track, as you can see here, let's hit the course. We got to change this to VOR1. There we go. And then we want to set the course. Since we know it's going to be a heading of approximately 240 to go direct to DuPage, we'll tune that into the course selector for VOR1. Okay, close enough. 240, 241. Set the altimeter. 240, 240. Make a left at the end of the taxiway here. That'll take us to runway 16. And we're going to be flying at an altitude of 8,000. Go ahead and tune that in. Set that set. Alright. Go ahead and turn our landing lights on. Alright. And I'm not using the default ATC as usual. So this will just be on my own here. Alright, here we go. Yeah, there's a plane crossing the runway, that's great. It's an awfully large plane. And speed's alive. 60 knots.
Airborne time log.
Go ahead and make the turn. And at this point we just want to go direct to DuPage, so I'm just going to tune the course until it centers. And that'll give us the direction we need to fly. Just want to keep the center part of that green arrow centered, and that'll be taking it directly towards the VOR. Now we've got a wind tailwind, quartering tailwind here, so it's going to be pushing us to the right, so we're going to have to probably stay to the right of this arrow slightly to compensate. So we're not following the GPS line exactly, we're going direct to the DuPage VOR. 3100, climbing here. Climbing about 72 knots. And you'll notice we're just keeping slightly to the right. We're drifting a little farther off, so I'm going to go a little farther right. Keep it to the right of that, of the arrow there. Compensate for the wind pushing us. And then as it centers, we can bring it closer into the arrow there. There's O'Hare to our left. I don't have any rudder or aileron trim configured on this controller. Probably something I should do. So I have to keep constant right pressure on the yoke here. At 5,500. About 62 miles, I believe, from Palwaki to Rochelle along this flight path. At 6,000, we're going to go up to 8,000. Looked away for a few seconds there. Completely got off course. Alright. 6,500. And then once we get to due page, we're going to depart due page at a heading of approximately 268. That'll take us directly towards the airport. $7,300. Still climbing. We're at 7,800. Level off at 8,000. Still following the VOR. The speed to accelerate a little bit here. We're at 8,000. Still following VR. We're about 7.5 miles from due page. Go ahead and turn the autopilot on here. Put it on nav and altitude. So we want to leave due page at a want to leave due page VOR on approximately the 268 radial, and that'll take us towards directly towards the airport. So what we're going to do here is, once we get locked on the VOR here, we will put it in heading mode while we fly over the VOR. that. So we're about 5 miles. As we go over the VOR, we're going to lose signal. So we're going to go ahead and go into heading mode right now. Let's get the heading set to this. Go into heading. And then we're going to want to put the course on, the course on 268. That will take us out to that radial, or out from the VOR on the 268 radial. And the airport is approximately 33 miles from DuPage on the 268 radial. So what we're going to do now, we're on a heading of 262. We're going to wait until we intersect the 268 radial, which we'll see this green line will start to move towards the center. At that point, then we can go back to heading or to nav mode, and the autopilot will follow the 268 radial outbound from DuPage VOR. And then we're going to have to monitor our distance and descend accordingly. We're going to have to calculate when we need to begin our descent here, which is fairly easy to do. The divide by 3 rule. For at 8,000, we want to descend, let's say, to 1,500. Let's say 2,000, make it easy. That's 6,000 feet. You divide that by 3, that's 2. Add a 0, so about 20 miles from the airport, we'll begin our descent at about 1,000 feet a minute. That should put us pretty close. So it looks like we're about right over DuPage right now. So now you notice we lost the direction here. That's because as you go over a VOR, you lose the signal, basically. All right, now it's coming back in. So we can see that in order to get the what am I doing? Heading. In order to catch the radar, you always want to go in the direction of this line. If the line's to the right, then you need to go to the right. If it's to the left, you need to go to the left. The farther over it is, the more you need to go. You can see on here, we'll be intersecting the 268 radial on this course. So you can see it's starting to move in now. So 20 miles from the airport, the distance from DuPage to the airport is 33, so about 13 miles from DuPage is when we'll begin our descent. And hopefully we'll be able to see the airport here. Some of these smaller airports, this isn't a tiny airport, some of the small ones, like the grass strip ones, I find at least very difficult to see, even as you fly over them. I've had that before where I've had to fly over one of these tiny airports 3 or 4 times before I figure out where it's actually at. So, and we can actually see the distance here. Since I set up the flight plan and flight simulator, it's actually in the GPS. So we could use that, but I just thought it'd be a little more interesting to do it using the VOR directly instead of using the GPS. Alright, everything's looking pretty good. We're still below the clouds here. Probably actually could have run flown this VFR. The clouds are a little bit, it's been overcast, then sun came out, then went overcast again. But you can see the sun poking out a little bit, and we're right below the tops here, it looks like. So you can see OnAir here too has a nice little map too that you can use. And it looks like we're right on track to get to the airport. You can see in the lower right here, it's got a nice little graph of this is your altitude, engine RPMs, power, and also any events that have happened. For instance, turning the lights on or off, and so on and so forth. See a plane at about 12 o'clock there. Looks to be about at the same altitude, maybe slightly higher. It's about the same altitude. A couple of planes out there. So it'd be passing off to our right, shouldn't be a problem. We're about 23 miles from the airport. Got a 27 knot quartering headwind. So we're showing a airspeed of 99 knots. You can see our ground speed is only 90 knots due to the headwind here. And then we'll be landing runway 25 at Rochelle. So it'll be basically a straight-in approach. So about 20 miles from the airport. Go ahead and disconnect the autopilot, which is probably a big mistake, but we'll do it anyway. We'll start our descents. Make sure we stay on the 268 radial here. Low fuel alert, that's great. We should have plenty though. The needle's going slightly to the right here. Give it just a little more. I'm going to go ahead and set the heading mark to 250, which is the runway heading. Just to remind myself. pretty good right now. About 14 miles from the airport. I've never been to this airport, so I don't exactly know what it looks like. As the needle centers here, we need to get closer to the direction that we want to go, which is 268. So constantly adjusting. Looks like we got windmills off to the left here. At 3,300 feet. Still about 11 miles, 12 miles out. We'll level off at about 2,000 feet. Maybe I'll level off at 2,500. Whoops, whoa, Nelly. So we don't want to start looking for the airport here. We're about 8 miles out. I think I see it. Yeah, I see some lights here. At about 11 o'clock. I hope that's it, yeah, I believe so. So like I said, this will be basically a straight-in approach. I believe this is it up at about our 10 o'clock now. I hope that's it. Whoa. Not entirely sure though. It's something. Probably. This has got to be it. There it is. Whoa. It was not what I thought it was. Let me lose some altitude here. And some speed. Jeez. Little low here, but that's all right. We'll make it work. Nelly. Oh boy. Oh boy, here we go. Runway 25, here it comes.
Landing time locked.
Right. Made it. Wasn't pretty, but we made it. Nothing was damaged. Nobody was injured. We're not going to make this turn here. Some sort of building over here. Go ahead and taxi over there. Huh. Interesting, they have a radar here. Maybe it's for the Tracon. I don't know. I believe this is an untowered airport. I'm not sure what the radar would be for. I could be wrong. Maybe it's towered. Don't know. Alright, we're just going to pull in right here. Hit the brakes. And then we'll go ahead and shut the engine off. Once we shut the engine off, let's do this.
Engine off time log. Flight is finished. It has been monitored by OnAir.
So then OnAir records the flight. You have to shut your engine off for it to register. And then let's see, the reputation went up. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to turn the lights off before you shut the engines off. Well, too late now, but we'll do it anyway. Comfort bonus, no safety bonus because of the lights. Aircraft handling, good. So we got 52 experience points for this. Actually, we got 30, I guess. So we can go ahead and click OK. And then that flight has been completed. So if we go to our pending jobs now, you can see that this one from Milwaukee to Rochelle has been delivered. So our next flight then will be this Rochelle to Kankakee, and then Kankakee to Kankakee to 8 November 2 to skydive. Kankakee to here, here to here, to Morris, and then Morris all the way over to Gary. Once we complete all these, we will get 2,000 experience points, which is enough to get us to level 2. Or level 3, I'm sorry, we're actually at level 2. Give us some more skill points that we can put in our skill tree. And at that point, we'll see where we're at exactly, but might think about possibly hiring another pilot. The one nice thing is you can have AI pilots actually run any flights that they can run, including the mission flights, mission level flights. At least the ones they can run. They can't do all of them necessarily. Like I say, actually these they all can. You could have an AI pilot actually run all of these, which a lot of times is what I'll do. I'll have them run these flights, and then I'll go ahead and rent an aircraft for myself, another aircraft, and start picking up flights that make money. So we can advance levels and make money at the same time. So anyway, that'll conclude it for this episode, and tune in again for episode 3. We'll finish off at least a couple more of these flights. And if you like this, don't forget to hit subscribe and like. See ya.